Hello everyone, and welcome today to our session of Yin Yoga. I'm Debbie Nolan, and I'm really excited you're here today to experience this style of yoga. Just a few things to get out of the way as we get ready to start our practice. The first thing is that you want to find a quiet area within your home so that if necessary you can push the door up or you can have some time without distractions from external sources. Also, you'll want to have either a yoga mat, or if you don't have a yoga mat, you can use a nice big towel, like a beach towel. Mine's tie-dye. I guess you can't tell I like tie-dye. And then if you have carpet in that room, the carpet's perfectly fine, but I would have a towel to place your face on because that just keeps those itchy fibers from scratching your face during the practice. Will be still for periods of time, so you may also want to have some things to help you be supported in the practice. So perhaps the throw pillows off of your couch, blocks if you were to have them at home, yoga blocks. Some of them are 2 inches wide, some 3. This is a 3-inch one. You also may very well have a book of this width that you can use. So the main purpose is you don't really need to have any of these items for Yin, but they help us ground the body in the practice so we don't have any limbs or pieces of ourselves just hanging out there in space creating force to hold up that body part. So we want to be able to release into each of the poses. So any of those aids to help. We don't really use a strap or anything along that nature in Yin. So if you gather those things together, we'll get ready to start our practice. Good, so once you've collected all of those items, we'll start today's practice from a seated position. So you can come into crossed legs at this point, and we'll sit in easy pose. Now, easy pose is just whatever variation of crossed legs work for you. You can put the backs of your wrists on your knees. Good, and first just feel grounded through your sit bones, your ischial tuberosities, so those little curves at the base of your pelvis. And then as you sit there, just think of floating upward each time you inhale, and then allow your eyes to shut or close halfway so that you can really focus on the dynamics of your breath and let us set the scene for today's practice. So as we flow with the breath, we allow ourselves to use the breath to connect the mind and the body together. In Yang classes of yoga, active classes, the body usually takes the lead following the mind. The mind tells the body exactly what to do. So the lead is really not the body's, but the mind's. Now the breath connects the two, but the mind usually takes precedent in Yang classes or active classes. In Yin, as we continue to breathe, the breath helps the body start to gain control over the mind because the mind just kind of takes a step back and starts to release and allow the body to take the lead. Now, why does the body need to take the lead? Because in most of the active classes of yoga, we don't give the body enough time to truly release and restore. So by following the breath and using the mind instead to start exploring the body for areas where you can feel that you're holding tension, that you can feel that definitely you haven't softened through the breath for whatever reason. So take a moment now and scan your body and look for places that need special nurturing today. Perhaps they're old injuries, perhaps they're just areas, twinges in the hinges, whatever the cause that they may be, just be aware of them. Let's leave outside the door the busyness of your week and be here, present, in this moment, breathing and being, but most of all, feeling. Now that feeling starts from the sensations that we feel just from breathing, how the subtleties of the body responds to the inhales and exhales, and how we feel seated even in easy pose, beginning our practice. Good. Now, as we move through these poses, we'll be in them a bit longer. And allow your mind to just settle busy thoughts in the background. So perhaps you inhale in one of those busy thoughts, and then when you exhale, you just allow it to float away. Good. As we're breathing here, start to hinge forward, and that just means don't round as you move forward, and place your hands on both sides of your knees or feet. Here, let your chin come to your chest or be nearby so your head is grounded. And as you move forward, here think of tilting your tailbone up perhaps just a bit. As we begin our practice seated in Muladhara or on Muladhara, which is our root chakra. That particular chakra or energy center, it allows us to be grounded in today's practice. It also allows us to be grounded off the mat in our community and in our life. So that sensation, that ability to be calm and flexible moves with us off the mat and into your everyday life. So for the purposes of our class today, we wouldn't hold the poses quite as long as we might in a real-time class. So you're always free to pause your video and just allow yourself to be in the pose a bit longer. Traditional Yin holds each pose as anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes, sometimes longer. But today's we'll be alternating the types of things that we do, and there are links. But at home you can always adjust that. Good. Now this particular pose, the pose names are always totally different. So here these are fire log legs, and that would be F-I-R-E, fire log legs. Good, and the legs can be crossed like mine are, or you can actually stack one leg above the other, which we'll do in a moment. Good. So as you start to really connect your breath with the body and what you're feeling, just notice the sensation in the areas of the body when you move through the different poses. So we flow back upright. Good, and as we do that, we're just going to stretch the legs out for a moment. And as we stretch the legs out, let us open your right leg wide and bring in your left leg. Now, this is half butterfly or half dragonfly. We're going to go with half dragonfly today. So as we move into this pose and the leg is bent inward, your knee might be up. You can put the pillow under the knee. You can also just allow gravity to start to allow that leg to move down. So again, just like we did a moment ago, relax your right leg. Good, take a big inhale and exhale in, and then allow yourself to hinge forward again. Now you're going to notice right away that the straight leg, the one on the right, starts to elongate and feel like it's getting a bit longer. Good, so as we flow in and flow out, let us inhale in, and again, long arms, meaning straight, Good, and we start noticing the sensations in the bent leg. Good, breathing in and out. Good, and over the time of your breaths, giving the body a few moments to react, perhaps you come a little bit lower into the pose. Now you might bend your elbows, and depending on you, you might even work your way down lower. You can also work to a point where perhaps you put your head on the block. Good, so always just keep in mind these are all just different suggestions. Good, you could even use 2 blocks here. If your body doesn't want to allow yourself to get down quite as far, that's okay. Adjust your blocks. So you just put your edge where your glasses would sit, right where the edge of the block is. Flow forward and just allow the hands to rest on the mat. And again, we go back to where I mentioned that we don't want any body parts hanging in space. Now the block is really just a guide, so you're not pressing down on it. You're just using it to keep the head right there. Good, and gently being held by the blocks. Now as you feel your spine start to release and your tailbone start to flow down, You perhaps might even change the width of the blocks. So for each person, that might very well change. Each time you go a bit lower, you're going to find different sensations in the back of each leg, from your tailbone up to your shoulder blades. Good. Just the pressure of moving forward helps work with your digestive tract as it starts to enliven everything in your torso, all of your intestines, all of those areas. Yin Yoga is a combination of Chinese medicine and Indian Ayurvedic medicine. So there's elements of each thing contained therein, and they're all good information. But here we're focusing on the bottom two chakras. Good. And allowing ourselves to start to release and relax. So notice where you do feel the tension. Good. Good, and you may eventually find that you can go lower, and perhaps if lower doesn't work for you, you can put your elbows on the block. Good, these are all good places to be, so variations for you to work with. Chin towards your chest. Good, now as we flow from here, we're going to change this pose ever so slightly. So as we inhale, let's place the hand on the shin bone and reach up with the opposite arm. Now as you do that, just touch your shoulder. Good, and pause here. Good. Very, very, very nice. Good, and float your arm down, shoulder flowing back. Excellent. And then float your opposite arm up, and then bring it down on the inside of your knee. Good. Now, other hand on the outside. So we're going to shift a little bit towards the knee. So line up your sternum with the knee, and this time round. So imagine that you're going to put your forehead on your knee. Now, if you don't think they'll be in the same zip code, that's okay. Use your blocks. You can put a block on top. You can bring your chin to your chest. You can flow all the way down and have your head on that knee. So just find the spot that speaks to you today. Good, so we're just aiming the body in different anatomical positions to have different effects on each group of muscles that control those areas. And again, notice where you're holding. Are you holding tightly in your hip area? Good, perhaps so. Very, very nice. Now our next pose that we're getting ready to move into is called cat holding its tail. And it kind of looks like that. Good, let's flow back upright. Very nice. Now, again, you might use the blocks, you might not. I'm going to put mine to the side so you can see better or more clearly. Good, we come down to the elbow on your left side. As we do that, take that bottom leg and slide it back, bring your top leg in front. Good, now really lift the leg up and slide it forward. Imagine you're lining up your big toe with your navel. Good, now before you straighten that leg out all the way, bend it just a bit. Good, reach down and collect the ankle or the big toe of the bottom leg. Good, now slide that leg back. Stretch out the top leg. So now you're holding your cattail. Roll that shoulder back and look over your shoulder. Good, now have a sensation of being lifted in your torso. Now when you move into this pose, if the body starts feeling like it's trembling or firing, put support underneath your rib cage on the right side. Good. Now, as you breathe, imagine each breath is opening up the chest. You're inhaling, exhaling. Just feeling that openness. Take care not to slouch. That's a technical term. But really it just means stay light in the middle of your body as you're breathing. Very nice. Now that top leg is just extended out. Good, you can soften the knee if you like, or you can have it straight out with the inner arch touching. Good, very, very nice. And then we release the cattail, float your top arm up, turn it to the wall behind you, and then float it down your back, having the whole arm touching your back, just like it's a waterfall. And then if your neck starts to get a little grumpy, you can always turn and look at the elbow and just behind the elbow of your supporting arm. But pick one or the other and just be here for a while. Here, really follow the flow of your breath as you're in the pose. Notice if the body's resisting, releasing. And then just imagine softening on each exhale. So as you inhale in, perhaps you soften. Now, softening doesn't go without having that sensation in the pose. You're still going to feel sensations. You still want to be lifted. So there's almost a conundrum in the dynamics. Yes, you're lifted. Yes, there's challenge, but it's still softening into the movement. This is what differentiates Yin from restorative yoga. In restorative yoga, we want to be totally supported, totally passive. In Yin, we're actually still creating energy. You'll know when you're there because you'll start to feel warm. That inner fire, Kundalini rising, you'll feel it. Very nice. Good, now we'll slide the top leg back and just pause here for a moment. Good, and then float the arm up, and that's the top one, and float it down. Now let's float back up gently. Good, slide the legs back out in front. Good, and this time, just have the legs in caterpillar. Good, so remember the poses might look like other types of yoga, but they have different names because the intention in the pose is different. So you might want your blocks again. You can stack them in any way that allows you to put your forehead on them and then flow downward in the pose. I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see. Good, so flowing inward. Good, whatever permutation works for you. And then just place the hands on your shin bones. Now some days the blocks don't want to agree with you, so just get rid of them. Put your chin to your chest. Now on this one, you start upright. Let the legs relax a bit. Now don't let the leg totally fall to the side, but allow it to be upright so there's a certain amount of internal force there to keep the leg up. Good. Start taller. Good, and then work your way forward so that your shoulders move forward of your hips. We just place our hands upward so that we're receiving a positive energy within the room or with others if you're practicing with others. Very nice, and as we lift our upper body up again, just rotate to your left side and look over your shoulder, nice and tall, ground through the back hand, and that's your left hand. Right hand can be on the outside of the knee. Good, and here feel like you've grown taller. Good, and after another breath, then just gradually move to the opposite side, same movement. Good, now your left hand is behind you. Really think about the head of your shoulder here. Float the shoulder back. Good, glance over the shoulder. Good, and again, caterpillar. Very nice, and then we flow back to the center and then allow ourselves to open our legs wide again. So as we open our legs wide, good, bring in the opposite leg now. Good, so we started, we had that leg, this leg extended. Now we're going to switch. So switch, other leg extended. And as we're here, good, now it's your left leg extended. So as we breathe in and breathe out, good. This time start with the hands behind you. Good. Lift up through your torso. Good. First, just have a sensation of lifting through the front of your body and yet letting your tailbone ground you back in, Muladhara, on the root chakra. So have that sensation of being grounded in your life, and yet flowing up towards the sky. Just like when we see a beautiful day, you know, the sun shining, the birds tweeting, it just makes you feel like you are lighter and you grow taller. And then you'll notice that you're able to hinge a little bit further forward, perhaps. And hinging just means you're not rounding. Your spine is long. Good. Now once you find the pose, again, close your eyes or shut them halfway, whatever's more comfortable for you. Good. Then turn your head, look off towards the side of the room. It really doesn't matter which side because we're going to do both. Very nice, and then flow back to the center and to the other side. Good, perhaps you hinge a little further forward. So we start to feel sensation in the back of both legs, from the tailbone grounding. Just have a sensation of your pelvis floating down to the mat. Maybe it feels more like it's melting down towards the mat or becoming heavier. Good, and the head flows back to the center. Let's take that left hand to your ankle and just reach up. Good, find your shoulder, lift your elbow height and rotate a little bit more. Good, so yoga's progressive. A lot of the moves that we make, the movements that we make, prepare the body for the next element. Good, and we float the arm back up and flow it down. And let's start to walk our hands towards the knee. Good. Shift, press that straight leg out a little bit more. Perhaps you put the hands down and you just slide your foot out a bit. And then relax your ankle. Rotate in the center of your body. And first, now a moment ago we rounded over that knee. This time think long, think tall. Good. Now your sit bone on the straight leg side might come up a little bit. If you feel that, just push into the mat so that it allows it to come back down towards the mat. Good. As you're breathing here, keep extending forward, but find a way to be soft in the movement. Now notice if you're tight here in the hip, take a big inhale in, and then exhale, release some of that tightening. Good, and just imagine you're going to extend the crown of your head to the whole opposite side of the room from where you are. So a different sensation. Good. And then in the very last exhale of the sensations, just allow your body to round down like you're going to put your nose on your knee. Now, if you can, go for it. Remember, it's just wherever you are today in your practice. Go where the body tells you that it's okay for you to move in that direction. Remember, the benefit is the same whether you're up here, down here, or your forehead on your knee. It's all the same benefit. Now right here, push into the mat a little bit so that you feel your tailbone sink back to the mat. Good. Good, and as we flow back up, let's think about moving into cattail now. So we're going to shift again onto that right elbow, and as you start to shift onto that elbow, you're going to slide your top leg forward and your bottom leg back. So the best way to do it, put your heel down, bend your knee, slide that bottom leg back, shift a little bit, so that allows the knee to come back, collect your ankle, then flow back, roll your shoulder back, and then extend the front leg. Now, as you're here, lift through your torso, look over your shoulder. Remember, as far as holding your cattail, you can be anywhere from the ankle up to holding the big toe with your fingers if you like. I find it just depends on which leg. I hold ankle one side, top of the foot on the other. Good, you do want to have a sensation of the knees being separated. Good, so we start tall, and again, if you don't feel comfortable in the pose, let go of the cattail, reposition, and then come back into the pose. So we look over the shoulder, breathing in, breathing out. It's interesting when you do hold the top of the foot oftentimes, or the ankle, oftentimes you can feel your heartbeat through the veins and arteries in your foot or ankle. And it really kind of completes a circle. You know, you can really feel the flow of your energy all the way down to your feet. Remember, if your neck gets grumpy, just look at the space behind your elbow on the right. Notice where your body's trying to resist letting go. Perhaps you take a big inhale in, and then exhale, let go. Take care not to slump, but lift up tall. Cattail is an interesting pose because we're really working with the lateral sides of our body, and yet all the way from the knees to the ankles to the neck and shoulders. So let's release the cattail, float up your top arm, turn it towards the wall behind you, and just let it waterfall down your back. You can even lay your head on that shoulder if you like. Now, in your home environment, you may find that you have a pillow or your blocks, and you can slide them under this space, which is also helping to support you and keep you grounded. These are lovely poses. They're very nice and invite staying in them longer, just because once the body relaxes into them, you can really feel the connection between your breath and your body in the poses. And you feel the flow of your breath through the subtleties of movements that the body responds with. Your body. Very nice. And then we float the top leg back. Again, we're still lifted here. Good, and then float the top arm up. And then flow it to the mat in front. And just help ourselves back up to a seated position. Good, and this time let's bring our feet into the butterfly position. Now take care. Most people immediately bring their feet all the way up here against their thighs or in their groin. So what you want to think about doing is have your feet further away, which allows you to flow further forward in the pose. Again, if you have your blocks, take use of them. Good, hands in front, but this time we're going to round down, just like you're going to read the map on your feet or let your forehead touch your feet. Now, again, don't worry if you're nowhere near. So take a really big inhale and then just come to that point and allow your chin to come to your chest again. But the big thing to think here is the sensations that you feel from your tailbone up to your shoulder blades in your spine. Sometimes if you push your feet into the mat a little bit, you can feel your spine round just a bit and you can feel it release. Here, allow your elbows to soften and relax against your lower legs. Now here, look at your toes and just wiggle them a bit. Perhaps you spread them wide. Good, don't worry about everything touching with the feet. Remember, this is butterfly rather than Baddha Konasana. Very nice, and then flowing up from there. Good, let's stretch the legs out again. So find a block or find one of your pillows. Good, and we're going to come into a supported bridge pose. Now in yoga lingo, that's Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, but in Yin is bridge. And most of us know that is bridge, because when we keep in mind that yoga's 5,000 to 7,000 years old, all of the stretches and activities and things that we refer to as stretches in our fitness environment came from yoga originally. So you've been doing yoga all along and didn't realize it. So bring your feet close to your body. Good, and then just press your feet into the mat and then place the block right under your pelvis. Good, now situate yourself so that you feel your shoulder blades touching. Good, let your knees come in towards each other, so open your feet a little wider. Good. Now, once you feel settled in your shoulder blade area, if you feel kind of bunched up, just shift around a bit. Good. And then lift your arms so that the inner arm and hand is reaching towards the sky and your knees are relaxed towards each other. They don't have to actually touch, but have your feet wider so that they do relax inward. Good. As you breathe in and out here. Good. If you have a sensation of your spine feeling a little tight, again, just shift your knees a little bit. Good. Maybe you kind of roll around on the heel a bit and then come back to the center. Good. Pausing here. Let's think about our breath for a moment. We've just been using easy breath, our natural breath, the natural inhale and exhale. So right here, let's think about changing the rhythm of our breath ever so slightly. If you need to adjust your clothing, always feel free to do that, because we can't let go if we're worried about what our clothes are doing. So this is breath with a little hold at the top and the bottom. So inhale in, And when you reach the fullness of the inhale, pause. And then exhale out. And when you reach the end of the exhale, pause. And then inhale again. And pause. And exhale out. Pause. Now really notice the tops of your shoulders, allow them to relax back as you continue with that breath pattern. If you're a counter, perhaps you hold for 3 and then use the rest of the count to 10 to exhale or inhale, or maybe you hold for 4 or whatever. I like to have a sensation of being able to feel how long it is rather than count it. Bring the oxygen all the way down to the very base of your lungs and pause. And when you exhale out, allow all of that old air at the bottom of your lungs to go away. This breath pattern allows us to actually start to release further, to let go, to calm. You know, the first thing we do when we get excited is we start breathing very rapidly through the part of the lungs right under our collarbones. So if we focus on our breath, even natural breath with no pattern or this type of patterned breath, it allows you to start to release that tension, that worry, that excitement, the busyness of your day and your week. It just allows you to be present. Start to relax and release. And again, the longer you're in the pose, you'll find your body starts saying, okay, I'm good with this. Very nice. And again, you can stay here as long as you like, but we're going to go ahead and move to the next pose, which is our finishing pose for Shavasana, which retains the same name, or resting pose. Now you may choose to keep the knees in the same position. Good, you can stretch the legs out. Good, you can bring the feet in butterfly. All of those are great places to be. If you're in butterfly, you might want to put blocks under your knees if they're elevated a lot, or even the pillows that you have. Good, whatever speaks to you today, and you might even feel like laying on your side. All of those are great. Here I have a sense of each breath starting to allow you to just feel like you're floating a bit. Maybe the inhalation lifts you up, and the exhalation lets go of the tension you may feel in your body. Now, keeping your eyes shut, you may peek and see me in an upright position. You stay where you are. Good, so continue to breathe and inhale and exhale. As you inhale and exhale, again, just notice every spot where your body touches the mat. What are those sensations? What do you feel? If you feel tension, allow it to float away. Be yourself. You are the unchanging you. You are the same you that you were when you were a child, and the same you that you will be on your last day. And yet, you can only be your best as you are right now, not as you used to be, not as you will be in 20 years. You can only be your best as yourself, not in imitation of another, and not by following someone else's standards, but only by fulfilling your own. Be yourself, not what other people want or need you to be. Wherever you can be yourself is the place you're supposed to be. You cannot be your best when you do not feel like yourself. The person you should be with or the person in whose presence you feel the most like yourself, the most like your best. When you have to give up part of yourself to be with other people, you always miss the part that you sacrificed in order to be with others, and you hold them hostage for the part of yourself that you missed. When you are lonely, it is always for that missing part of yourself. Your work should be about you. It should mirror your best and capture your desire. You should be able to find yourself by losing yourself in your work. When you are bored, you are not living your best life. You don't have to try, you just have to be. Be yourself where you are right now. Every part of your life should tell your life story, for if you own yourself fully, you possess the world. I seek myself in everything I do. I find myself. I dream my dream. Wherever I go, I become myself. Start to move your toes and just start to reconnect. Still keeping your eyes shut, turn to one side and just pause there for a moment and send yourself a positive thought. Maybe it's an affirmation. I am strong. I'm grateful. I am in control of the things that I can be in control of. And once you've settled that thought, then come back to a seated position. Good, you can either bring your hands, the backs of your hands to your knees. Good, or you can bring your hands to heart center. But let's pause with the back of the hands to our knees. And remember, if you enjoy these Yin Yoga classes, if you enjoy the yoga classes we've shared with you through Henrico Recreation and Parks, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our program offerings. We have a wide variety of activities that appeal to all ages. Check them out. They're there for you at whatever time of day that you'd like to, and be sure and subscribe. If you click the bell, they'll even notify you when we have something new online. So let's seal our practice now. The light that shines from within each of you present today is reflected back and magnified. We come together and share that special part of ourselves in our practice of yoga. Thank you for letting me lead your practice today. Namaste.